Hi guys, well just a few days ago MSI released a fresh lineup of notebooks straight off the back of the Intel Skylake launch. So it's that time again for us to check out one of these exciting new models. So today we're going to be taking a look at the GE72 6QF Apache Pro, which, as we've already hinted at, features the Intel Skylake Core i7-6700HQ processor. So as well as this new CPU architecture, we've also got DDR4 making an appearance, and NVIDIA's mid-range GTX 970M. GE72 is a stylish notebook which utilises a 17.3-inch display and is destined to land in the mid-range market. Familiar partners SteelSeries and Dynaudio return to provide keyboard and audio solutions. Now you're going to be able to pick up GE72 for £1,200 in the UK, and then over in the States you're looking at $1,900. But do bear in mind, from country to country the spec may well change. And also for that UK price there, that's the recommended retail. So we could see it drop in the coming months, hopefully. So we're now going to begin our video today, guys. We hope you enjoy it. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to ask away. Right guys, well we're going to do a quick unboxing on our notebook. So as you can see here, this is the packaging and it's identical on the other side, so I won't bother showing you that. But on the front here we've got the Dragon insignia, because this is of course from the gaming line. And we've got the supporting technologies running along the bottom there. So all the goodness there from SteelSeries Engine, XSplit Gamecaster and so on. I'm not going to run through all those because you can quite clearly see them. Now the only other thing really to mention is that we've got this carry handle at the top here. So that is useful if you're going to be perhaps transporting your notebook from place to place, perhaps your friend's house or even a LAN party. Inside the box, everything is really nicely packaged. As you can see here, the actual notebook itself has these cardboard pillars which help to keep it in place, and we've also got that fabric sleeve just to protect that while it is in transit. If we just put this over to the side, in this left hand compartment here we have the power pack, which as you can see is actually quite slimline, quite nice and compact. That uses the trio of, if I just show you the connector, obviously this is for UK, but if you're in another country, US or in Europe, it will be slightly different this end. But this end here uses a trio of well, a connector. And then we've also got the documentation, of course, which is just in here. If we can just get inside. So inside there we've got the quick start guide, we've got a manual, and we've got all that warranty detailing should you need it. Okay, so here we have our notebook. So if you've seen previous models from MSI, you'll be familiar with this type of styling. So rather than completely changing the appearance, they've stuck with what works, and we can't really argue with that at all. The lid adopts this lovely brushed aluminium finish and has two accents which add depth to the overall look and design. Now on the centre there we've got that MSI logo, and then we've got that dragon emblem, as this notebook is part of MSI's gaming line. So from a visual standpoint, GE72 clearly carries with it great build quality and plenty of style. Flipping our notebook over, you can see that there are 4 rubber pads to prevent the unit from slipping on smooth surfaces. And then in the centre there is a large area allocated for ventilation, since this region is really where most of the critical components will sit. And since all of the hardware inside is seated quite closely together, it needs to be able to expel as much heat as possible. Also on the back there we've got the subwoofer and then front facing speakers which utilise Dynaudio. I can tell you that the audio performance on this notebook is especially good. Now in the middle there you can see that we've got a small label, and this has the serial code and the model number should you need to contact MSI for any technical assistance. Now you'll notice that there is no visible battery unit on the underside of GE72. The unit is concealed underneath. So if you do have any technical problems, you'll need to contact MSI regarding this. Now the battery unit, incidentally, is a 6-cell model, and it will offer you up to 3.5 hours of light usage. Okay, since we have the notebook on this side, we'll take a look at the internal components. So I've already detached that plastic cover. So first of all, at the very heart of GE72, we have the all-new Intel Skylake Core i7-6700HQ. This chip is quad-core, and it operates at 2.6 GHz and turbo boosts up to 3.5. Now this in turn paves the way for completely new memory. So our notebook makes use of DDR4, Here we have 16 gig of 2133 megahertz, but if you wanted to, you could install up to 32 gig here. So both the CPU and the memory work hand in hand for those everyday tasks, and having already tested this notebook out, we can verify that you can get great all-round performance, especially if you're going to be multitasking. Now for graphics delivery, this notebook uses the GTX 970M and it comes with 3 gig of GDDR5. So this is a mid-range NVIDIA GPU and it'll be able to handle most gaming titles at medium to high detail presets at 1080p. Now you can see that the chip utilises a rather large heatsink there, with the primary heat pipes designated for that left cooling fan. But there is also a single heat pipe which also stems off towards that CPU fan for additional cooling. For storage, we have a 120 gig M.2 SSD. This is Toshiba branded and acts as the boot drive to give you a speedy 10-second boot up into Windows 10. So while you might keep applications like Photoshop on that drive for better performance, the main storage is intended for a standard mechanical drive which sits next to the memory. This drive is a 1TB drive and it operates at 7200 RPM, so plenty of space there for the bulk of your data. So returning to the external design of GE72, let's have a look and see what kind of functionality we get. So on the left there we've got that slot for applying a Kensington lock. We've got a gigabit LAN port powered by Killer E2200, a USB 3 port, HDMI and mini DisplayPort to output to those bigger screens, another USB 3 port, and then we've got that USB 3.1 Type-C port, and lastly those gold-plated headphone and microphone jacks. So with that new chipset and Intel Skylake, we've got the capability of having USB 3.1, and it's great to see that MSI are embracing this and including it, as it will future-proof that unit. Moving over to the other side, we have a Blu-ray drive, a single USB 2 port, an SD card reader, and then that AC power port to work in conjunction with the supplied power pack. Okay, so lifting that lid, we are firstly met by that 17.3 inch PLS widescreen display. This supplies us with 1080p resolution and it also offers anti-glare just in case you're going to be using this notebook outdoors. Now as we've seen in the past, MSI have included a 720p webcam at the top of the screen, and this is integrated, it sits neatly tucked away there and it offers up to 30 frames per second. This is quite a handy thing to have built in, as it means that you can jump on Skype or Twitch and start a call or live stream while you're on the go. Looking down at the keyboard area, we can see that the brushed aluminium continues. It brings that really nice, sleek, uniform look. Now in the past, MSI has partnered with SteelSeries for the keyboard integration, and they continue to do so with GE72. This keyboard is powered by SteelSeries engine software, and so in simple terms this means that you're going to be able to configure profiles, bind commands and modify the colour, which leads on to our next point. The SteelSeries keyboard is LED backlit, and by using the button at the top of the keyboard we can cycle through different lighting modes. So here is a quick demo for you guys. And as well as that SteelSeries button, we have a cooling fan switch too. So this basically allows you to have the cooling fan running at auto or 100%. So to give you guys a bit of an idea of what to expect from the noise levels, and the noise level difference, here are the fans on auto. And here we are at 100%. The touchpad on the notebook is located at the bottom next to that features label. Now on the last generation of notebooks, MSI decided to include the left and right hand button as part of the actual pad area, but we're pleased to see that they've now separated them and provided some independent buttons. And again, this touchpad continues the brushed metal theme and it responds and reacts really well. Right guys, well, to finish things off, I'm sure you're all really interested as to how this notebook performs. So we're now going to run some benchmarks, and just initially we'll just say that we're going to be running real temp in the background and GPU-Z. So we're going to be recording the GPU temperature and the CPU temperature. Just go into GPU-Z here and set the highest rating. So that is going to record the max GPU temperature, and then obviously for real temp we've got the min and max as well. Now it's also important to note that we have got the charger plugged in. If we didn't have that plugged in, then it would the graphics card would go into power saving mode, and we would be reducing the frame rate. So it's really important that we do have that plugged in to get the maximum result we can possibly get. So we're going to start off then with 3D Mark. Okay, and there is the result. As you can see, the score, and if I just minimize that, you can see the temperatures there. So for the GPU temperature, we maxed out there at 64 degrees, and then for the CPU, 68, 68, 68, and 66. Okay, and next up we're going to take a look at Tomb Raider. So if we just go into the options there, we're going to make sure that we're running 1080p, yes, and we've got VSync off, and we'll run it at the high preset for the quality. If we just go in, okay, and there is our result. Minimum of 98 and an average of 116.4. So not too shabby at all there. And then finally we're going to take a look at Thief. So if we just go into the options again, just to verify everything is on 1080p, we've got the VSync off again. We don't want any frame rate cap. And then if we go into the high detail preset, okay, and there is the result. As you can see, minimum 40.4, and then for the average 59.1. So that is pretty good again. If we just come out of this, I just want to show you what the temperatures were, from those two games. So you can see there 69 for the maximum on the graphics card, and then the CPU stayed on the same sort of level with 68, 68, 69 and 66. So not too bad at all there. Now we chose those two benchmarks because they have an inbuilt benchmarking tool. So if we used other perhaps newer titles, we'd have to use Fraps and obviously show gameplay, and so it's just much easier for the video. But if you do want to know what some of the performance figures are like for games such as Witcher 3 and Assassin's Creed Unity, please head over to the full review in the description. So guys, that just about concludes our look at the all-new GE72, and it goes without saying really that we're left in no doubt of the excellent build quality that this notebook brings and the strong lineup of hardware that it packs in. And it's actually pretty surprising, the gap between desktop and notebook in terms of performance. It's steadily reducing there. The CPU compute performance, the encoding with that Skylake chip is really impressive. And you put that CPU with the DDR4 together with that GTX 970M, and it translates to really decent performance in the latest gaming titles. And speaking of which, if you go over to the full review, the link's on the screen and also in the description, we've got a group of the most recent games tested. We're talking Witcher 3, Far Cry 4, and that's just to give you a bit of an idea of what kind of performance that you can expect. but you're going to probably find most of the info on that review over there. But if you do have any questions, then please feel free to get in contact and we'll do our best to help you out as much as we can. So that pretty much completes today's and this week's video. Thanks for joining us today. Take care of yourself and I'll see you guys in the next video.